I'm going to do a couple segments for you guys now. One of them on how Hillary Clinton can win the election strategically. So what she should do if she indeed really wants to win, and how she can basically lock it up. And I'm also going to do a separate segment on how Donald Trump can win the election and what strategy he needs to do in order to effectively lock it up. So I touched on this a little bit yesterday, but I want to go into a little bit more detail today because I'm really convinced of this. I thought this through a lot. You know, you could look at the polling trends and see when Hillary Clinton does best and see when Donald Trump does best and see when they do their worst. And there are many conclusions to take away from it. So speaking about Hillary Clinton here and how she can win, first of all, step one is you have to express sincere regret and apologize for bad positions that you've had. Now, they would never do this, and she would throw a tantrum, and she'd be kicking and screaming in the meeting and saying it's a horrible idea. But where does Hillary Clinton do her worst when it comes to the topic of, are you honest and trustworthy? I'm not kidding when I say she repeatedly loses to Trump in that area. Donald Trump, a guy who is a notorious liar. She's apparently an even more notorious liar. More people think she is. Look at the polls. It shows that he beats her on that front all the time. So what's going on there? Well, it almost doesn't matter what's going on there. You got to do something to make it right. So how would you do that? There's something that is innately and inherently respectable about somebody who can go out there and basically say, fuck me, I was dead wrong. I was dead wrong. So when you go out there, now she's paid at times, like with the Iraq War, oh yeah, I regret that vote. Anyway, moving on. It's got this aura of arrogance to it. And by the way, a lot of people don't know this. You know when Hillary Clinton finally admitted that vote may have been a mistake? 2014. So over a decade after the war in Iraq, she's like, maybe, I don't know. I'm planning on running for president, and I got to get through the primary, so I guess I'll say that. Even back when she was running against Obama in the primary, she wasn't like, you know what, mistake. Dude, that is unbelievable. That's unbelievable. It's same thing, well, not to get off on a side rant here, but 2013 is when she finally came out in favor of gay marriage. It took you that long to realize that consenting adults who aren't hurting anybody should, be able to live in peace and harmony with each other and do what they want. Unreal. So you know what you got to do? People know, they smell it on you. Oh my God, just a standard establishment politician going along to get along. She has no real conviction. She has no real core. People know that when they look at you. So what do you have to do? You got to flip that narrative on its head. So you would have to go out there and say, all right, guys, here's the deal. I've been in politics pretty much my entire life. I've made mistakes. I've grown with all of you. And there are times where I've been wrong. No excuses, flat out wrong. The Iraq War was wrong. You have to explain why. Hundreds of thousands of civilians have died. Trillions of dollars have been wasted. Terrorism is higher today than it was when we started that thing. You got to come out there and say the Patriot Act. Listen, the Patriot Act, I thought we needed to do it to protect the country. It turns out it just takes away everybody's Fourth Amendment rights, and it has the NSA store everybody's metadata. It's abysmal. It's a disaster. It was a terrible decision on my part. NAFTA, disaster. Libya, deregulation. Go down the list. Now, again, the key here is sincere, so maybe Hillary Clinton would be fundamentally incapable of doing this because she doesn't sincerely regret these things. But that goes to the core of the problem of what is Hillary Clinton and why she's tied with this buffoon. So, but this is the only way you really can. If you really want to lock up the election, this is what you'd have to do. So step one is apologize. Step two, you have to lay out the areas where you're clearly better than Trump. You have to do that. And she doesn't do that. She uses just a confused mix of shitty arguments against Trump. It's rare that she says stuff where I'm listening and I go, as somebody who knows all the policies, I go, she nailed it on that one. That's rare. It happens from time to time, but there's no central theme and central message. She doesn't lay out a clear vision that can allow people on the Democratic base to listen to her and go, no, she's actually right about all of that. But it is conceivable to make those arguments. So if you go out there and you say, look, guys, I know you're disappointed. Many of you are disappointed with me being the nominee because you don't think I'm liberal enough. Well, understand something. When it comes to the Supreme Court, I will nominate competent judges. You may not agree 100% politically with my picks, but I will appoint competent judges. Donald Trump has promised repeatedly he will appoint the next Justice Antonin Scalia. Antonin Scalia thinks the devil is literally real, thinks blacks belong in slower track schools, defended torture, doesn't believe in due process. The list goes on and on. He's a fascist and a theocratic maniac. There is no comparison. There is no false equivalence. I am better, period. That's an argument where any liberal, any progressive listening would go, okay, you know what? On this one, kind of nailed it. There is no equivalence. A Donald Trump judge would be worse. Even if it's Merrick Garland, who's a shitty fucking centrist, even he would be better than the next Antonin Scalia, and every honest person on the planet has to admit that. Another thing she could say is climate change. When I was Secretary of State, I pushed fracking all around the world because I thought it would develop these third world economies. It was a terrible decision because the detriments far outweigh the benefits. Climate change is progressing at an insanely fast rate. We need to jam on the brakes and put it in reverse here. So here's what I promise you. I will abide by the Paris Agreement, and I'll go further. Donald Trump promises to rip up the Paris Agreement on day one. He says climate change is a Chinese hoax. There is no equivalence here. I am better, he is worse. I am better, he is worse. Bernie Sanders wants to treat climate change like a World War II level threat. Who's going to take it more seriously, me or Donald Trump? Okay, another argument that any honest person would have to say, you know what, she's got a point there. Tax plan. Donald Trump wants to re-implement Reaganomics. It would blow an $11.9 trillion hole in the debt over 10 years. Over $1 trillion deficits each year. Hillary Clinton, as bad as she is, she's not tweaking the Obama tax rates. The Obama tax rates are similar to the old Bill Clinton tax rates. Now, neoliberals suck on many things. They're not that bad on tax rates. So while Reagan had the top marginal rate at 28%, which again was a disaster, you have Bill Clinton and Obama, it's about 39%. So Hillary Clinton, keep that the same. You have Donald Trump, no, I want to cut that. So in other words, you want to give an even bigger tax cut to the rich, which underfunds the social safety net, which fucks over the poor more, and which leads to giant instability and more income inequality in the system. There is no equivalence. I, Hillary Clinton, am better than Donald Trump, period. My tax plan for any progressive and any liberal is better. If you make this argument, people can't help but agree because it's true. Social policy. Look, man, you heard Donald Trump in the primary. He said it repeatedly. Maybe there should be some punishment for the woman if there's an abortion. I would never, ever, ever in a million years, I would reverse the trends in the states of them cracking down more and more on abortion. On drug policy, I want to continue Obama's legacy. He's continuing to free nonviolent drug offenders. Donald Trump is a loose cannon and a buffoon who says that I've never done drugs, and he's very punitive. Even with his kids, he was very punitive. You really want to risk the legalization project in Colorado on this maniac who could, he has the power to get in there because the laws aren't changed, and he can say, shut it down. Shut down legal marijuana in Colorado and Washington. We're done with it. We're done with it. You want to risk that? You want to risk that? Oh, a protest vote? Is that what you want to do? If I'm Hillary Clinton, these are the points that I'm making. I go out there and say he wants to ban all Muslims from coming into the country. He said it. He said it again. He said it again. He doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down. He just kept saying it. Okay, so if you're fine with him being president, we know where you stand on the issue of Muslims. You want to blame all Muslims for the action of terrorists. Cool. Cool. No problem. You know, you made your bed, now you're going to sleep in it. You can continue. Minimum wage. Okay, Bernie and I had a vibrant debate over whether it should be $12 or $15. Now, Hillary Clinton's got this weird position now where she says, well, if you want to make it $15 in the individual states, I'm with you, but federally, I think it should be $12. Now, you could be mad at her over that. That's fine. And you could say, I wish it was more. That's fine. Donald Trump said, We need to lower wages. There is, again, no equivalence there. She's just better. When it comes to, she can even make an argument of basic sanity. A lot of you find me cold and calculating. You know what? That may be true. Donald Trump? Do I even need to say anything? You want to talk about a serious issue with temperament? Now, I'm not one, me, Kyle speaking now, not pretending to be Hillary anymore. I'm not one to ever make non-policy arguments. But if there ever was a time to make a non-policy argument, you can look at Donald Trump and understand and ascertain just from face value of it, the dude has a low IQ, and the dude has an attention span of a gnat. That guy should not have a fucking army. Not saying Hillary Clinton should have an army. She's made a bunch of horrific decisions. But on a basic competence level, that guy's a fucking lunatic. He's a lunatic. So she can make these arguments because there are no counters to it. Immigration. Yes, Hillary Clinton, would deport criminals. Yes, there's comments to me in the past, I want to build a barrier on the southern wall. Guess what? Even Obama, who did record deportations, he's not deporting literally all undocumented immigrants. That's what Trump wants to do. Every single one. 11 million. Logistically impossible, morally indefensible. I'm better than him. Okay, if you make these arguments, they land because they're true. And then step 3 is, apart from clearly laying out where you're better, where there's no dispute, and don't try to cheat on that one and bring up areas where there is like a question. Just lay out the areas where you're clearly better. The third thing is, take his disqualifying comments and hammer away. They don't do this. They'd rather focus on he used naughty words than to focus on the things he said that are actually disqualifying. So when he says, let's take out their families, talking about the families of terrorists in the Middle East, he's saying kill civilians on purpose. Now, Hillary can go out there and say, look, I voted for the Iraq War. That was a horrific mistake. Many civilians died. The worst charge anybody can ever have against myself or President Obama is gross negligence in how we've carried out these wars. Donald Trump, it's not gross negligence. He's calling to do terrorism. He's calling to do cold-blooded murder. He's saying killing civilians is the point. That's what I want to do. You can hammer him on that. Play that clip over and over. We have to take out their families. We have to take out their families. I would play that till the fucking cows come home to let people know, oh, okay, you want to vote for a terrorist? Fine, be my guest. But when he said, let's bring back torture, I want to bring back worse than waterboarding. I'd torture, quote, even if it doesn't work. Okay, so you're a barbarian. You're a savage. You're like ISIS. You want to torture people for the sake of torturing people. You're a sadistic fuck. Bring that up. Hammer away. That's disqualifying. He said he wants to pull out of the Geneva Conventions, called it, quote, the problem. Okay, so you admit I don't want any international law to apply to us. Even the neocons, as terrible as they were, they had the veneer of, respectability because they understand the downsides of if you just come out and say we don't care about international law, you open the door for everybody in the world to just say international law, schminternational law, we don't care about it. At least the neocons were like, it's not torture, it's enhanced interrogation. He's like, no, it's torture, and yes, international law is bullshit, I'm going to pull out of it. And then you have no grounds by which you could say, hey, all the other countries that are now torturing our soldiers and doing X, Y, and Z, well, that's bad and that's wrong. You have no grounds to say that, because you're the one that decided to blow up this whole international law system. He's a threat to the world, man. Again, lower wages, hammer away on that one. Take the Iraqi oil, that's not a thing. Like, you're advocating committing fucking war crimes on primetime TV in the debates. If Hillary hammers away on this and lets everybody know, okay, it's nice that you don't like me. It's nice that you might think this guy's better, but that's it. Here's the clear red line. There are people on that side. There are people on this side. You are on the side of the person who says, I aspire to be a terrorist. I aspire to be a war criminal. If you make these arguments, you're going to have a better chance of winning. But you have to be aggressive. And then the step 4 and the final point is she has to stop running right immediately and stop taking big money. These are the two main things that are undermining her credibility. I mean, she's Hillary Clinton. Her credibility is beyond destroyed anyway. So this is like the last attempt for her to... This strategy I'm laying out is the only way she could really lock it up, I think. But you have to stop running right, because in the primary, you pretended to be even more liberal than Bernie Sanders on some issues. My Wall Street plan goes further. This is shit that she said. Now, all of a sudden, you're hanging out with neocons and talking about how you love a muscular U.S. foreign policy. So you have to stop running right, because this is why your bleeding millennials literally lost 17 points or 18 points among millennials this past month alone, because she's been running right. So stop that immediately. It's not a strategy that's going to work. Nobody wants the militarism. You would pick up centrists and moderates if you advocated left-wing policies. The polls show people who describe themselves as centrists and moderates don't even know that they like left-wing policies. But when you talk about those policies, they go, I like that. You know, Medicare for all, raising taxes on the rich, so on and so forth. So stop running to the right and stop taking big money now. You have to stop taking it. You have to stop taking it, because everybody knows it's not 1986. People know what the fuck is going on, man. People have the internet. They have the information. There's opensecrets.org, which tracks money in politics. You know, they know that this is a cancer within the system. We elect Congress, and then a month later, you do a poll, and only 9% of the American people like them. That's the case because they're representing the donors, and they're not representing us. So when you walk around and pretend like you're for the people, but you're just raising gobs of money, fucking piles of money from various billionaires and corporations, well, that's a slap in our face. That is what it is. And this is why you're tied with a monster. So you have to stop taking that money. Now, having given you Hillary Clinton's winning plan, will she do it? Nope. Not a snowball's chance in hell. So if she wins, it'll be a white-knuckle election. It's already a white-knuckle election. The election is tied, and it's very soon. This should have never been a thing. At this point, if I'm not mistaken, Mitt Romney was way down to Obama. You know, Nate Silver predicted, a 93% chance of Obama winning going into the election? Well, now with Hillary Clinton, this election is neck and neck with Donald Trump. This is the strategy that would lock it up for you. But I think she has too much hubris and too much arrogance, and she's too addicted to the system as it is and the corruption to change course.